The most dangerous person in your life may not be the one who hates you. It may be the one who smiles at you, praises you, depends on you, calls you at the right time, disappears at the wrong time, and slowly teaches you to confuse being needed with being valued. Think about it. A trap does not always look like danger. Sometimes it looks like friendship. Sometimes it looks like love. Sometimes it looks like family duty, loyalty, teamwork, kindness, or opportunity. And by the time you realize you have been giving more than you were ever meant to receive, the damage is already quiet, deep, and personal. So stay with me until the end, because the later signs are not the obvious ones. They are the ones mature people often miss, because they are too decent to suspect what selfish people are willing to do. And if this channel speaks to a part of you that wants to live with more clarity, more restraint, and better judgment, subscribe quietly and walk with us. Not for noise, not for entertainment, but for understanding. Welcome back to Guiguzi Strategic Wisdom. I'm David Welbeck, the writer behind this video. And today, I want to speak to you about 5 signs someone is quietly using you. Not loudly, not obviously. Not in a way that gives you one clean moment where you can say, there it is. That is betrayal. No. Most people who use others do not begin by taking everything. They begin by testing the edges. They ask for a little more time, a little more patience, a little more forgiveness, a little more access. They watch what you allow. They study what you excuse. They learn where your kindness lives, and then they build a road straight through it. This is where most people get it wrong. They think being used means someone must be cruel all the time. But human nature is more subtle than that. A person can be warm and still be selfish. A person can be charming and still be calculating. A person can say the right words and still have no intention of carrying the right responsibility. The real question is not, are they nice to me? The real question is, what do they become when my usefulness runs out? That is where character appears. The first sign someone is quietly using you is this. They only become attentive when they need access to what you have. There is an old strategic truth that says, when people approach the gate, study whether they seek the person inside or the treasure behind it. In modern life, this means you have to pay attention to timing. Someone who values you does not only appear when they are hungry. They do not only remember your name when they need advice, money, emotional support, professional help, a favor, a ride, a recommendation, a rescue, or a place to land when their own choices collapse. They may be busy. Everyone is busy. Life is heavy. People have work, family, stress, grief, ambition, private battles. Mature people understand this. But there is a difference between being busy and being selective with your presence. That is not distance. That is strategy. When someone only shows warmth when they need something, they are not relating to your inner life. They are relating to your utility. They are not seeing you as a person with limits, wounds, dreams, fatigue, and dignity. They are seeing you as a resource that responds when touched. And the painful part is, this often works because of your own instinct. You want to matter. You want to be generous. You want to believe the best. There is a quiet desire in almost every decent person to be the one others can count on. It makes you feel needed. It makes you feel strong. Sometimes it even makes you feel chosen. But being needed is not the same as being loved. Being useful is not the same as being respected. Think about it. A person can need an umbrella in a storm and still leave it behind when the sun returns. That does not mean the umbrella was precious. it means the weather changed. In friendship, this looks like someone who never checks on you, but sends long emotional messages when their life falls apart. In work, it looks like a colleague who ignores your ideas until they need your skill to save their deadline. In family, it may look like relatives who speak of loyalty only when they want your sacrifice, but disappear when you need protection. In love, it may look like someone who becomes tender when they fear losing comfort, not when they truly see your pain. And if you let instinct take over, you may mistake their sudden attention for proof that they care. This is the danger. Your ego whispers, "They came to me because I matter." But reality may be saying, "They came to you because you are convenient." Look at reality for what it is. The consequence of missing this sign is slow exhaustion. You begin to arrange your life around emergencies that are not yours. You give away energy you needed for your own future. You become available to people who would never rearrange even one ordinary afternoon for you. And over time, you do not just lose time, you lose judgment. You begin to feel guilty for having boundaries. You begin to explain away imbalance. You begin to call it compassion when it is really fear. Fear of disappointing them. Fear of being seen as selfish. Fear that if you stop being useful, they will stop coming around. Do you see the turning point here? The turning point is when you realize that someone's need for you is not evidence of their love for you. Sometimes it is only evidence that you have something they do not want to build for themselves. A wise person does not become hard. A wise person becomes observant. They watch timing. They watch patterns. They watch who appears when nothing can be gained. They watch who stays when there is no advantage, no spotlight, no crisis, no benefit. Because anyone can praise the well when they are thirsty. Character is revealed by who still respects the well after they have had enough to drink. The second sign someone is quietly using you is this. They make your boundaries feel like betrayal. There is a kind of person who does not attack your wall directly. They stand beside it, sigh, act wounded, and wait for you to feel cruel for having one. That is not love. That is pressure disguised as disappointment. In the spirit of strategic wisdom, the person who cannot defeat your discipline will often try to make you ashamed of it. This is one of the oldest patterns in human behavior. When someone benefits from your lack of boundaries, your self-control becomes a threat to them. Your restraint interrupts their access. Your clarity interrupts their comfort. Your word "no" forces them to confront what they were hoping to take without resistance. So they change the emotional weather. They may say, "I thought I could count on you." They may say, "You've changed." They may go quiet. They may become cold. They may act hurt in a way that makes you feel like you did something morally wrong, when all you did was protect your time, your money, your peace, your marriage, your work, your health, or your future. This is where most people get it wrong. They think guilt is always a signal of wrongdoing. It is not. Sometimes guilt is simply the pain of breaking an old pattern. Sometimes guilt means you are finally withdrawing from a role that was slowly destroying you. I remember years ago I knew a woman named Claire. She worked in a small office outside Denver, the kind of place where everyone knew who stayed late and who left on time. Claire was competent, calm, and dependable. Because of that, people kept handing her things that were not hers to carry. A report here, a client issue there, a last-minute presentation because you're just better at this than everyone else. At first, it felt like respect. Then it became routine. One Friday afternoon, a coworker asked her to stay late and fix a project that had been neglected for 2 weeks. Claire had plans with her younger sister, who was going through a hard season and needed her. For once, Claire said, "I can't do that tonight." The co-worker did not yell. That would have been too obvious. They just looked disappointed and said, "Wow, I didn't expect that from you." And that sentence worked on her for almost an hour. Not because it was true, because it touched the part of her that wanted to be seen as good. That is how quiet use operates. It does not always force you. Sometimes it makes your own identity turn against you. It uses your desire to be kind, loyal, mature, spiritual, helpful, or strong, and it bends that desire until you volunteer for your own depletion. In families, this can be even harder. A parent, sibling, cousin, or grown child may frame your limits as abandonment. In friendship, someone may act as though your availability is proof of love. In marriage, one person may slowly train the other to carry the emotional labor of two people and then call it devotion. In ambition, a boss may praise your sacrifice while quietly building a system that depends on your silence. The psychology is simple, but painful. People who use others often do not think of themselves as villains. They think of their desire as urgent. They think of their comfort as reasonable. They think of your refusal as the problem because your refusal interrupts the story where they get what they want without changing themselves. It is not because they do not understand boundaries. It is because your boundary costs them something. And this is where your poor judgment can become expensive. If you let guilt rule you, you will keep proving your loyalty to people who only define loyalty as your willingness to be drained. You will confuse peacekeeping with wisdom. You will think you are preserving the relationship, when in reality, you are preserving the version of the relationship where you disappear. A boundary is not a weapon. A boundary is a measurement. It measures whether someone respects your humanity when your usefulness is limited. And the closing insight is this: the people who truly belong in your life may not always enjoy your boundaries, but they will eventually respect them. The people who were using you will treat your boundaries like an insult, because to them, your freedom was never part of the arrangement. The third sign someone is quietly using you is this: they keep you emotionally invested while giving you very little that is real. This one is delicate because it does not always look like exploitation at first. Sometimes it looks like mystery. Sometimes it looks like chemistry. Sometimes it looks like potential. But potential can become a beautiful cage. There is a strategic principle hidden in human relationships. Those who cannot offer substance often offer uncertainty, because uncertainty keeps the heart moving. Think about that. When someone gives you just enough warmth to keep hoping, just enough explanation to keep waiting, just enough apology to keep forgiving, and just enough attention to keep you from leaving, they may not be building a relationship with you. They may be managing your attachment. That is not intimacy. That is control without ownership. In modern life, this happens everywhere. In dating, someone may keep you close without choosing you clearly. In friendship, someone may lean on you deeply in private, but treat you casually in public. At work, a leader may keep promising future opportunity while giving you more labor in the present. In family, someone may keep saying, "Things will be different," but never actually becomes different when it costs them comfort. And because you are human, your instinct begins to participate in the illusion. You start reading signs, a message at night, a sudden compliment, a good conversation after weeks of distance, one sincere-looking moment in the middle of a long pattern of neglect. You take that one moment and build a whole future around it. This is where most people get it wrong. They judge someone by their most emotional moment, not by their most consistent pattern. They remember the apology, not the repetition. They remember the softness, not the absence. They remember how the person looked when they said, "Stiken, I care about you." But they forget how often that care disappeared when it was time to act. Look at reality for what it is. A person who wants the benefits of your loyalty without the burden of responsibility will often live in the space between promise and delivery. They will speak in future tense. Soon. One day. When things calm down. After this season. You know what you mean to me? You know I'm trying. But the real question is not, do they know what to say? The real question is, what do their choices cost them? Words are cheap when they are not attached to sacrifice. Affection is easy when it does not require discipline. Regret is easy when it does not require change. The human instinct behind this is powerful. We are drawn to unfinished stories. The mind wants closure. The heart wants redemption. So the ego wants to believe it did not invest in the wrong person. So instead of leaving when the pattern becomes clear, you keep waiting for the version of them you glimpsed once, or imagined deeply, or needed badly. And that waiting can become a form of self-betrayal. You tell yourself you are patient, but sometimes you are not being patient. You are being slowly trained to accept crumbs as proof of a feast. Do you see the turning point here? A person who is using you does not always need to take your money, your labor, or your connections. Sometimes they use your emotional availability. They use your listening. They use your hope. They use the part of you that still believes people can become who they promise to be. That is why this sign hurts so much. Because it does not make you feel robbed at first. It makes you feel chosen. It makes you feel like you are involved in something deep, something complicated, something other people would not understand. But complexity is not always depth. Sometimes complexity is just confusion with better lighting. A wise person learns to separate difficulty from dishonesty. Real relationships can go through hard seasons. Real people can struggle. Real love can be imperfect. But even imperfect love has direction. It moves toward clarity. It takes responsibility. It does not keep asking you to bleed quietly while calling your patience beautiful. The consequence of ignoring this sign is that you lose time in a way you cannot recover. And time is not a small thing. Time is life. Time is attention. Time is youth. Time is opportunity. Time is the person you might have become if you were not spending your best energy decoding someone who benefited from being unclear. The closing insight is simple. If someone keeps you attached, but never becomes accountable, they are not confused about your value. They are comfortable receiving it without honoring it. And comfort, when it is selfish, can be more dangerous than hatred. The fourth sign someone is quietly using you is this. They only respect your strength when it serves them, but resent it when it protects you. There are people who love your discipline when it makes their life easier. They love that you are responsible when you solve their problems. They love that you are calm when you absorb their chaos. They love that you are loyal when you keep their secrets. They love that you are capable when you carry the pressure. They love that you are forgiving when they cross the line. But the moment that same strength turns inward, the moment you use it to protect your peace, choose your future, say no, walk away, or stop explaining yourself, suddenly your strength becomes a problem. That is not because you became harsh. It is because you became unavailable for misuse. In the spirit of old strategic wisdom, a person's true attitude toward your power is revealed when your power no longer benefits them. This is one of the quiet rules of human nature. People do not always hate weakness. Sometimes they prefer it. Weakness is easy to manage. Confusion is easy to influence. Loneliness is easy to manipulate. Guilt is easy to steer. But clarity is difficult to control. Self-respect changes the negotiation. And those who quietly use others can sense this change before you even say much. You begin answering slower. You stop over-explaining. You stop volunteering every detail of your inner life. You stop rushing to fix every discomfort. You stop trying to prove your goodness to people who already made up their mind to benefit from it. And then they say, "You're different now." Yes, that may be the first honest thing they have said. Because you are different. You are no longer moving from instinct alone. You are no longer letting old wounds make decisions for your adult life. You are no longer confusing intensity with loyalty, or pressure with love, or habit with fate. Think about it. Many people want you strong enough to support them, but not strong enough to leave them. They want you wise enough to understand their pain, but not wise enough to recognize their pattern. They want you patient enough to wait, but not clear-minded enough to ask what you are waiting for. This is where most people get it wrong. They think being strong means enduring more. Sometimes strength means enduring less, because your judgment has finally matured. In work, this may look like a company praising your dedication when you work nights and weekends, then questioning your attitude when you ask for fair boundaries. In social competition, it may look like a friend celebrating your success as long as you remain humble, quiet, and accessible, but becoming cold when your ambition begins to move you beyond their comfort. In marriage, it may look like one person appreciating the other's emotional stability until that stability turns into a calm refusal to keep participating in dysfunction. In everyday life, it may look like someone calling you selfish because you no longer let their urgency become your emergency. The instinct behind this is not complicated. People want advantage, not always consciously, not always maliciously. But desire has a way of protecting itself. When someone has grown used to benefiting from your overextension, your balance feels like loss to them. Your healing feels like rejection. Your clarity feels like arrogance. Your silence feels like punishment. Your self-control feels like distance. But look carefully. What they are really reacting to is not your cruelty. It is the collapse of their access. There is a cost to misjudging this. If you believe every complaint about your growth, you will shrink yourself to keep others comfortable. You will apologize for becoming more whole. You will mistake someone's discomfort for moral evidence against you. You will return to old roles just to restore peace. But peace built on your disappearance is not peace. It is surrender. Do you see the turning point here? A fake person often admires your qualities only when those qualities are useful to them. They admire your kindness until you become kind to yourself. They admire your patience until you stop waiting for them. They admire your intelligence until you start seeing through them. They admire your loyalty until your loyalty develops a spine. That is the moment the mask slips. Not because they suddenly changed, because your value stopped flowing in their direction. A wise person does not need to become suspicious of everyone. That is not wisdom. That is injury speaking too loudly. But a wise person does watch how people respond when their access is reduced. They watch the face behind the face. They watch the tone after the boundary. They watch whether love becomes punishment when obedience disappears. And the closing insight is this. Anyone who only celebrates your strength when it serves their weakness was never honoring your character. They were renting it. The fifth sign is the quietest one, and maybe the most important. They make you lose yourself while convincing you that you are saving the relationship. That is the final trap. Not because it happens all at once. It happens by inches. A small compromise here. A swallowed truth there. A missed opportunity. A postponed dream. A friendship you stop nurturing because this person always has a crisis. A family conversation you dread because you already know you will be made responsible for everyone's feelings. A workplace where your ambition slowly turns into obedience. A relationship where you keep abandoning your own inner life just to keep the peace. And one day, you look at yourself and realize you have become a stranger in your own life. This is not because you are weak. It is because human attachment is powerful. It is because desire can make intelligent people foolish. Loneliness can make disciplined people negotiate with disrespect. Fear can make mature people accept confusion as if it were fate. And love, when it is mixed with poor judgment, can become the very thing that leads you away from yourself. There is a line of strategic wisdom I often return to in my own words. The person who loses the center will mistake every direction for duty. When you lose your center, everything feels urgent. Their sadness feels like your responsibility. Their anger feels like your emergency. Their approval feels like your oxygen. Their silence feels like a verdict. Their small kindness feels like a reward you must earn again. That is not a relationship. That is a system of control. And the strange part is, the person using you may not even need to command you anymore. They have trained your instinct to move before they ask. You anticipate their mood. You soften your words. You hide your needs. You lower your expectations. You explain their behavior to yourself before anyone else even questions it. You become both the prisoner and the guard. Think about it. At work, this may look like staying in a role that consumes your health because someone keeps promising that your loyalty will be rewarded. In family, it may look like carrying generations of guilt because you were taught that peace means silence. In marriage, it may look like protecting someone's image while your own spirit becomes smaller behind closed doors. In friendship, it may look like constantly being the listener, the rescuer, the stable one, while your own pain has nowhere to go. And in social life, it may look like pretending you are fine because you are afraid that if you speak honestly, the people around you will not love the real version of you. This is where most people get it wrong. They think losing yourself feels dramatic. Usually, it feels responsible. It feels like being mature. It feels like being patient. It feels like being understanding. It feels like saying, I can handle it. It feels like telling yourself, this is just what love requires. It feels like choosing the wrong moment again and again because you believe there will be a better time to tell the truth. But the better time never comes for people who benefit from your silence. Look at reality for what it is. A person who is quietly using you will often make you feel that the relationship survives because you keep sacrificing. But a relationship that only survives when one person disappears is not being saved. It is being preserved at the cost of a life. And life is not endless. Time keeps moving, whether you are clear or confused. Opportunities pass while you are waiting for people to become fair. Your family needs the real you, not the exhausted version of you. Your work needs your focus, not your resentment. Your future needs your courage, not your habit of delaying hard decisions. There is a cost to betrayal, but there is also a cost to misjudging people for too long. You lose years. You lose trust in your own instincts. You lose the clean energy you once had. You lose the ability to tell the difference between love and pressure, between loyalty and fear, between patience and self-abandonment. And perhaps the saddest loss is this. You begin to believe that relationships require you to be less alive. They do not. Healthy relationships require humility, patience, forgiveness, and work. Yes, but they do not require the death of your inner life. They do not require you to become smaller so another person can remain unchanged. They do not require you to confuse endurance with wisdom. Do you see the turning point here? The turning point is when you stop asking, "How do I keep them?" and begin asking, "What am I becoming while trying to keep them?" That question will tell you the truth. Because someone who truly values you may challenge you, disappoint you, even hurt you at times. Because people are imperfect. But they will not require your disappearance as the price of staying connected. They will not feed on your guilt. They will not punish your clarity. They will not keep moving the line until you no longer remember where your own life begins. So what truly reveals a fake person? It is not simply that they lie. Many people lie from fear, shame, immaturity, or weakness. It is not simply that they make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. It is not even that they need help. We all need help in different seasons. What reveals a fake person is the pattern of taking without reverence. They take your time, but do not honor your limits. They take your loyalty, but do not protect your name. They take your forgiveness, but do not change their conduct. They take your strength, but resent your freedom. They take your love, but do not carry responsibility for the damage they cause. That is the pattern. And what should a wise person actually watch for? Not just words. Watch timing. Watch consistency. Watch what happens after they receive what they wanted. Watch how they respond when you say no. Watch whether they become kinder only when they fear losing access. Watch whether they respect your boundaries when those boundaries inconvenience them. Watch whether their apology produces discipline or only another performance. Watch whether being close to them makes you clearer, steadier, and more alive, or more anxious, smaller, and easier to control. The real question is not, can they speak beautifully? The real question is, do their choices protect what their words claim to value? This is why so many people mistake performance for sincerity. Performance is visible. It has emotion. It has timing. It says the right thing at the right moment. It knows how to look wounded, grateful, passionate, loyal, misunderstood, or deeply sincere. But sincerity is quieter. Sincerity has repetition. Sincerity has cost. Sincerity remains when the audience is gone. Sincerity does not need constant drama to prove it exists. It becomes visible in ordinary responsibility, just in small acts of consideration, in the way someone handles your trust when there is no reward for handling it well. Mature people understand this. Wise people understand something even deeper. The goal is not to become suspicious, cold, or unreachable. That is not wisdom. That is pain building a fortress and calling it peace. The mature person is not a saint, not perfect, not untouched by desire, fear, loneliness, ego, or regret. A mature person can still misjudge. A wise person can still love the wrong person for too long. A disciplined person can still be pulled by instinct when the heart wants what the mind already knows is dangerous. But mature people return to the center. They know what matters. They know what to protect. They know what to let go of. They know when to wait and when waiting has become avoidance. They know when to act and when action is only panic wearing a brave face. They do not give everyone equal access to their inner life. They do not confuse kindness with availability. They do not let guilt govern what wisdom has already made clear. They understand that every relationship is also a test of judgment, timing, self-control, and character. And they understand this painful truth. Sometimes the person you wanted to save is the person you must stop surrendering yourself to. That is not cruelty. That is clarity. So if you recognize these signs, do not rush into anger. Anger can wake you up, but it cannot guide your whole life. Sit still. Observe. Let the pattern reveal itself. Stop explaining everything away. Stop rewarding confusion with more access. Stop treating your own exhaustion as proof of love. You do not have to hate anyone to step back. You do not have to expose everyone to protect yourself. You do not have to win every argument to reclaim your peace. Sometimes the most strategic move in life is quiet withdrawal. Not dramatic, not bitter, just clear. You stop feeding what feeds on you. You stop negotiating with people who only respect your pain when it benefits them. You stop mistaking their need for your purpose. And little by little, you return to yourself. That return may feel lonely at first, but loneliness with clarity is better than companionship that slowly empties you. Remember this: the people who truly belong near you will not require you to betray yourself in order to keep them. They may not be perfect. They may struggle. They may disappoint you. But they will not make a lifestyle out of taking from you while calling it love. And when you finally see the difference, your life begins to change. Not loudly, deeply. Thank you for staying until the end. This is Guiguzi Strategic Wisdom, and if this reflection gave language to something you have lived through, subscribe if you have not already. Share this video with someone who may need to hear it, and leave a comment with your own thoughts or experience. The journey toward clarity is not always easy, but it is one worth continuing. I'm David Welbeck, the writer behind these videos. I'll see you in the next one.